All right, last time we started talking about consumer credit, and we ran into a couple named Ann and Andy, and they had borrowed money for a refrigerator, and that's where we were. They had a $2,000 refrigerator. They paid $200 down, so they financed $1,800, and if they had paid that off in 6 months, that's just all they would have paid. They would have had to pay about $300 a month for that to happen, but life happened, and they didn't. And so we backdated their interest through that time, and we found out that over that 6 months, they incurred $108 of interest. And then we used that backdated amount as our new principal, because that's how much they owe now. And we moved forward with that same 12% interest rate going forward. And we found out that now the amount that they're going to pay when they're all said and done with all of this is $2,365.92, not counting the down payment. Okay, we're up to speed. Everybody remember? Excellent. All right, so we're on part E. And E says, what is their monthly payment over the next 2 years? So how am I going to find our monthly payment? Total divided by 24. And how did you get 24? Where did that come from, Tyler? 24 months. Okay, so be careful. We are over the 2 years, so we still have the 24 months, not a 12-month time frame. Someone grab your calculator for me, and let's do the division. 98.58. So they're going to pay almost $100 a month, in addition to the $200 they already paid for the refrigerator for the next 24 months. Are we all good so far? Okay. Next problem then, part F wants to know what is the total cost of their refrigerator, and then it says plus interest. That means counting the interest in the situation. Because you could just say, well, the total cost for the refrigerator is $2,000. Well, that was the initial cost, but that's not how much they paid. The question is, how much do they pay? All right, so how would I find that? First, I have their $200, right, Matthew? Because they paid $200 when they went and they purchased the thing and took it home. So we definitely have the original $200.
That's the down payment?
That was our down payment, right. What else do we have? Yeah, it was what we got from part D, that $2,365.92. Or if you had not already had the $2,365.92, you could have taken that $98.58 from the last part and multiplied it by 24, right? Because it was the 24 months we paid that out over. So adding these together, how much did they pay for this refrigerator? $2,565.92, which doesn't quite look as much like the $2,000 that they were told, does it? All right, so I want to show you something. You don't need to write this down, but I want to show you something from a practical aspect here to think about. What was their interest rate?
12%.
It was 12%. I mean, that's what they were quoted, right? What I'd like to show you is how much interest they really paid. So let me show you this. If you looked at this, you know that they paid $2,565.92, and we're not counting tax, of course, in all of this. That's an irrelevant figure for what we're talking about. We're just talking about the price of the refrigerator, of course, right? So taking a look at this, how much interest did they pay? How much of that $2,565.92 was interest? And how did you get that, Drew? Right. So the final amount they paid, and if we take off the original $2,000 that was the actual price, this is the amount of interest. Everybody with me so far? All right. Again, this is not a calculation I'm going to make you do. This part you should be able to do. You've done this already before. But what I want to show you is that if you take that amount, that $565.92, and you divide it by the initial cost of the refrigerator, and then multiply by 100% to turn into a percent, I'd like for you to tell me what you get. So take your calculator.
28.30. If you write it.
Like this, Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the real interest rate they paid. They did not pay 12%. They paid 28%. Okay? Because we backdated the amount, we used that new amount, and then we moved that amount forward. We didn't pay 12%. We paid more than double. Crazy, huh? Okay, so that 12% is a little misleading, just a little. Like maybe twice as misleading as it should have been. Right? Not good. All right, let's take a look then at the other type of credit in this section. So we talked initially last time about consumer credit having two types. One was these closed-end amounts where you sign up for the loan, it's over a certain time frame and so forth. We talked about car loans are usually done this way. Sometimes appliance loans are done this way. Another type of loan then is an open-ended credit loan. This is the piece of plastic that resides in some of you guys' wallets. It's called a credit card. Okay? So taking a look at this, these are called revolving loans. Typically speaking, the way these work is the following. There's not a fixed number of payments. It just continues until you don't owe them any money more. Or stop using them, you cut them up, you send it back to them, whatever. Okay? They don't set a specific amount of time that you have to be finished with them by. They want you to continue to operate with them, actually. That's their hope. And if you call them to tell them you want to cancel, they try to retain you as well. Now, an itemized billing, this actually happens on your savings accounts, your checking accounts, as well as credit cards. An itemized billing is a statement that comes typically at the end of a month. It tells you the charges that you made or the withdrawals you made. It tells you the money you paid if you made payments or any refunds that happened, any of those kinds of things. Now, specifically for this kind of a loan, this kind of a revolving credit, it's also going to show you how much money you still owe them, the minimum amount you have to pay them, the number of days that were in your billing cycle, those kinds of things. Okay, so this amount of this loan issue as well. You don't have those features if you're talking about your checking account or something, but you have everything else you do. All right, along with this kind of a loan, you also have finance charges. Finance charges can include several things. They're going to include interest, just like the interest we've been talking about. Sometimes they will charge you an annual fee for having a specific kind of credit card. Sometimes there will be a credit card insurance coverage fee. Sometimes there's a payment differential or carrying charges, that is how long you've kept that money loaned out from them. And one way of figuring out, for instance, the interest is the average daily balance method. And that's the one I'm going to show you because it's the most common. Okay? What it does is it takes into account how long you've had borrowed out certain amounts. For instance, if you borrowed the $300 for the new stereo system at the first of the month, as opposed to the end of the month, you used their credit, you used that loan for a longer period of time. That makes sense? Say, uh-huh. Okay, so you incur more interest because it's taken you longer to pay it off. And that's what this average daily balance method does, is it weights how many days you've owed how much money. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at, in essence, a credit card bill. So here's the information we're going to do on this problem, the problem's question. For the following credit card account, assume 1 month between billing dates. That means if you're billed on June 9th, you're then billed on May 9th, then February 9th, and April 9th. It's always on the 9th, okay? With the appropriate number of days. So it's a different day amount for every month. Everybody understands what that means, right? So the number of days, we're actually going to really consider the month we're in to make that decision. Our interest rate is 1.3% per month. Notice this is the first time we've seen something that's not done in years, right? It's going to affect things a little bit differently. When you hear 1.3% per month, it doesn't sound like very much. When you actually figure out what that annual rate is, if you multiply by 12, you'd find out what the actual annual rate is for that card. It's a little bit different number, a lot different number. All right, we're going to find using the average daily balance, we're going to find, the method, we're going to find the average daily balance. We're going to figure out what the finance charge, that is the interest amount we're going to be charged for, and what the account balance is for the next month. Okay, everybody good? All right, I'll flip back and forth between this. Here's the credit card balance, and to start with, let me just draw in some lines. We're going to make a chart out of this, okay? You need 3 columns in your chart. The middle column can be quite small. The first column and last column need to be bigger, wider, right? The first thing we're going to do in the first column is we're going to sort of get a running tally of what's happening, okay? So this is the running balance.
What's the first column?
The running balance. Yeah. All right, so initially, you ended last month on May 9th, okay? And your previous amount balance was $727.36. So that's the first value in the in the running balance column. Okay? And then come May 17th, you make a payment and you pay them $200. What is your remaining balance now?
527.36.
Yes. And these should have dollar signs on them when we put them in. Okay, so after you make your payment, apparently about, 13 days later, you go out and you have dinner.
I do have a question.
Yes.
On yours, this is 27, but on mine, this is 28.
Yeah, let's make it 28. In last class, I forgot about that. Make these all 28s. I apologize. Yeah, we'll fix it.
Oh, yours is 20.
All right, they should all say 28 if they're printed out. They don't want on my sheet as well. I'm sorry. Okay, 728.36. Okay. After you do this, you go to dinner and you have them swipe your card at Red Lobster or whatever, and it's $46.11. So what is your new balance now? Okay, so we added something to this, right?
574.
Not subtracted? Did we add?
Yes.
Okay, Tyler, tell me the number again.
574.47. So you added from the May 17th payment?
Yeah, why are we adding it?
Because you're charging.
We're charging it, right? When we paid the money off, the balance went down. We don't owe them as much, but now we charge something to them, so now we owe them more. Okay? All right, then what happened? Well, then we go to the theater. I hope it was a good show. And we spend some more money. We spend $64.50. Theater is really expensive. All right, so let's add to this, right? What do we get now? $638.97. Okay, everybody good so far? All right, my next column is my days column. This is my number of days. That's why it's not going to need to be very wide because I only need to write in small numbers. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at the number of days it's going to be at that balance. Okay, so this is the balance 728.36. That came on my May 9th billing date, and it's going to stay at that amount until May 17th when I make my payment. So how many days happened between the 9th and the 17th? 8 days. So for 8 days, if I went online every day, it would say, you owe us $728.36. Make sense? And then I go in online on the May 17th and I pay them some money, so it goes down. But then from May 17th to May 30th, now it's going to say, when I go in online, you owe $528.36. For how many days? 13. Does everybody see where the 13 and the 8 came from? Okay, then we're going to go from May 30th to June 3rd. And we have to remember, how many days does May have? 30, what? 31. I totally thought I heard somebody say 32. Sorry. Whew. All right, so 31 days. So 31 days. So we're going to count from May 30th to June 3rd, and we're going to get how many days?
4.
4 days. So for 4 days, I'm going to owe $574.47, and then I'm going to the theater, or at least I paid for tickets to the theater. And I've actually got to put a number in here. Well, it starts at June 3rd. Where will it end? June 9th. How do you know, Tyler? Yes, because the billing cycle will happen on the same day of every month. Last time it happened on May 9th. This time it will happen on June 9th. So we go from the 3rd to the 9th, and we have how many days? 6 days. Okay, everybody good so far? Okay, here's what you do next. The last column. You're going to multiply the balance times the days. So these numbers will be slightly larger than the ones in column 1. You're going to multiply 728.36 by 8. What are you going to get?
50, 26, 88.
And then you're going to multiply, what was that?
It's 58.
Is it 58?
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Here, let's try this again. All right, 58 like this.
Yeah.
2688. That was better, wasn't it? All right, we're going to do the next one. 52836 times 13. 0.68, yeah. Fun numbers on that one. Lots of 6s and 8s. Then we're going to do 574.47 times 4.
2297.
Awesome. Last one, 638.97 times 6.
3,833.82.
Okay. Are we all good? Okay. So this was the balance times the number of days. And all of this is going to be added together. So your chart's always going to look like this. You're doing pluses and minuses, you're doing number of days, you're doing multiplication. You're going to add the last column together. Yes, Matthew?
Let me ask Jackie to add.
Okay. All right, so somebody add for me. We'll make sure that the number I have written down is correct. You have 4 large numbers at the end to add.
18,827.26 cents.
Okay. What do you do when you find an average for something?
Divide by however much you have.
Divide by something, right? Depending on what the context is.
Yeah.
What's wrong? I don't know. Something got left out. A 7, didn't it?
7, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I probably just thought I didn't have space to write it. But I think I did. All right, so we're actually ready to do part A now that we've created this table. Part A is the average daily balance. So what do you think we might divide it by, Mackenzie? You're chatting with me over here. By what? It's not by 4.
So is it going to be by how many?
31.
By 31. Yep. Get the wrong number still in there. 18827.26. And we're going to divide by the number of days because it's the average daily balance. It's the average amount per day, right, that we owe. So it's the total amount divided by the number of days. Average daily balance. And it was 31 because May had 31 days. Okay, that's where the 31 came from. So what do we get?
607.33.
Right. 607.33. So never during this whole month did I actually owe 607.33. Right? That's just an average. That's what happens when you look at your grades out on Jupiter, right? You may not have a single 82 out there, but somehow 82 is your average. Okay? Yes, Brian.
You said 31 for May.
31 because it's for May.
Why don't we have June?
Because May 31st happened in our time frame. We went from May 9th to June 9th. If you want, you could count the number of days, but because you passed May 31st, you're going to have 31 days. If we went from June 9th to July 9th, we'd have 30 days because June only has 30 days. We wouldn't have a June 31st to do.
First month.
Well, you're doing whatever passes during that time, right? Between May 31st and June 3rd is part of this time frame. There was a May 31st.
Yes.
That's why.
So like February, like 28 days.
Yes, if you did February, it'd be 28 days, and you'd go with 28 unless there was some reason, like if they told you it was a leap year, you could use 29, but otherwise you're just going to go with the 28 because that's what the normal amount would be, typical. All right, so this is part A. Part B asked you what?
The monthly finance charge.
The monthly finance charge. No, slow down.
Okay.
So what does finance charge mean? We talked about several things it could mean, but what does it mean with what we're doing right here? What does finance charge mean? This is practical stuff. You should know what finance charge means. Interest. Finance charge means interest. How much interest you're getting charged for the luxury of keeping that plastic in your wallet. Okay? It's the interest they're charging you. All right? So, what did it say the interest rate was? 1.3%. So we're going to have 1.3% of this monthly average daily balance of 607.33. How are we going to figure that out? I mean, what are we going to do with these numbers? All right, so we're going to turn our percent into a decimal, which would be 0.013. No. What do you think? You're going to multiply. Think about your simple interest formula. What do you do with that simple interest formula, that one that you mentioned before, Alex? It's I equals PRT, right? P is your principal. That's the 607 we're talking about here. R is the interest rate. And for the sake of what we're working with right now, the time is actually in months, because this is an interest rate given in months. So it's 1 month. So we're really just doing the 0.013 times 607.33. So what is 0.013 times 607.33? $7.90, which may not sound like a lot, but if it's $7.90 every month, you've actually spent a fair bit on that in the course of a year, right? And you could have gone to a really nice musical or theater production or something like that, right? Sure, a more expensive one than you did. All right, last one is the account balance. Part C wants to know, what is the account balance for next month? So how would we find that out? All right, we're going to look at the last amount we owed, which was $638.97. That was the last amount that they sent me the bill for. But the bill's then going to include the finance charge. That is, it's going to include that $790 that we just found, right? So the new bill that comes out that I received for June 9th does not actually say I owe $638.97. What does it say I owe? What was it? $646.87. Remember your dollar cents. Yes. It was up here actually. This is the very first number in the problem. Yeah, it was the previous amounts balance. Okay, any questions on this? All right.